I never thought I'd find myself in this situation, my life unraveling like a poorly woven tapestry. My name is Mark, and for 10 years, I thought I had it all: a loving wife, a beautiful home, and a promising career. Emily, my wife, and I met in college. She was the vivacious center of attention, always drawing people in with her magnetic charm. I was the quiet, diligent student who couldn't believe my luck when she took an interest in me. Our first years together were nothing short of bliss. We traveled, laughed, and shared our dreams. But as time went on, the warmth between us began to cool. I was busy climbing the corporate ladder, and Emily, now an interior designer, was frequently away, working on various projects. The distance wasn't just physical, it seeped into our emotional lives as well. I began noticing subtle changes in Emily's behavior. She was often on her phone, giggling at messages, and when I'd ask who it was, she'd dismiss it as a friend from work. She started staying out late, attending networking events that I was never invited to. Our sex life dwindled, and she became irritable, picking fights over trivial matters. I tried to ignore the nagging doubt in my mind, attributing her behavior to stress. One night, while Emily was out with a client, I stumbled upon a clue that shattered my denial. I was looking for my charger in her desk when I found a receipt for a hotel room, dated the previous weekend when she had supposedly been at a conference. The room was booked for 2 people. My heart pounded as I sat down, trying to make sense of it. Was it a mistake? An innocent oversight? I confronted Emily that night, but she laughed it off, calling me paranoid and insecure. She had an answer for everything, expertly weaving lies to cover her tracks. But the seed of suspicion was planted, and I started paying more attention. It was a Tuesday evening when the final piece of the puzzle fell into place. Emily was in the shower, her phone buzzing on the nightstand. Normally, I wouldn't invade her privacy, but this time, I couldn't resist. I unlocked her phone and found a string of messages from a contact named R. They weren't just messages. They were explicit, filled with plans to meet and recounting their previous encounters in detail. My world came crashing down as I read the proof of her betrayal. When she came out of the shower, I handed her the phone, open to the incriminating messages. Her face went pale, then red with anger. Instead of admitting her wrongdoing, she accused me of invading her privacy, of being controlling and possessive. The argument escalated, and for the first time, I saw a side of Emily that I never knew existed, a cold, manipulative side that left me questioning everything I thought I knew about her. In that moment, I knew our marriage was over, but I also knew this was just the beginning of a tumultuous journey. The path ahead was uncertain, filled with pain, betrayal, and a desperate need for retribution. I was about to discover just how far Emily's deceit went, and how deeply it would cut into the fabric of my life. The revelation of Emily's infidelity gnawed at me day and night. Every interaction we had felt like a charade, her laughter a cruel mockery of the trust I once had in her. I couldn't let it go, couldn't pretend everything was fine. I needed closure, proof beyond the damning messages I had read. My opportunity came the following weekend. Emily told me she had another business meeting out of town. I played along, masking my anger with feigned understanding. As soon as she left, I trailed her in my car, staying far enough behind to avoid detection. The drive was tense, every turn she made tightening the coil of rage inside me. She drove to a quaint hotel on the outskirts of the city, the kind we used to escape to during our early years together. I parked discreetly, watching as she got out and greeted a man with a kiss. The man was tall, with an air of confidence that made my blood boil. They checked in together, laughing and holding hands, oblivious to my presence. I waited until they were inside before approaching the front desk. My heart pounded as I lied to the receptionist, pretending I had lost my key and needed a replacement. The receptionist, sympathetic and unsuspecting, handed me a keycard to their room. I stood outside the room, my mind racing. Part of me wanted to turn back, to avoid seeing what I knew was happening inside. But I had to see it for myself. I needed to confront them, to expose Emily for the liar she was. The sounds from within confirmed my worst fears. I took a deep breath, swiped the keycard, and flung the door open. The scene before me was a grotesque tableau of betrayal. Emily was in bed with her lover, their bodies entwined in an act of passion. The shock on their faces as I burst in was almost satisfying. Emily screamed, scrambling to cover herself with the sheets, while the man, clearly panicked, tried to gather his clothes. My rage erupted, a torrent of words spilling from my mouth. I accused them of their treachery, my voice shaking with fury. Emily's eyes were wide with fear and disbelief, her lover stammering apologies and excuses. "What the hell are you doing here, Mark?" Emily shrieked, her voice hysterical. "What am I doing here?" I shouted back. "What the hell are you doing here, Emily? Do you have any idea how long I've known about this? How long I've been watching you lie to my face?" The man, still half-dressed, tried to intervene. "Look, man, we didn't mean for you to find out like this." "Shut up!" I roared, my fists clenched. "This isn't about you. This is about her and the lies she's been telling me for God knows how long." Emily's bravado melted away, replaced by tears. "Mark, please, let's talk about this. It's not what you think." "Not what I think?" I scoffed. "I caught you in bed with another man, Emily. What more is there to think?" The confrontation was raw and brutal. Emily's lover fled the scene, leaving her to face the storm alone. She tried to explain, to justify her actions, but her words were hollow. She blamed me for being distant, for not paying enough attention to her needs. But nothing she said could absolve her of the betrayal I felt. I left the hotel room that day with a heart full of anger and a mind set on revenge. Emily had shattered our life together, and I was determined to make her pay for it. The game had changed, and I was no longer the trusting husband. I was a man scorned, ready to exact my retribution on the woman who had deceived me and the man who had helped her do it. The drive back home was a blur. My mind raced with a mix of anger, betrayal, and a burning need for answers. How could she do this to me? How could she lie to my face night after night while sharing our bed? By the time I arrived, my rage had coalesced into a cold determination. Emily was already home, sitting on the couch, her face streaked with tears. She looked up as I walked in, her eyes pleading. "Mark, please, let's talk about this," she started, her voice trembling. "Talk?" I spat back, my voice dripping with sarcasm. "What is there to talk about, Emily? You've been fucking another man behind my back. What more do you need to say?" She flinched at my words but pressed on. "It wasn't like that, Mark. I was lonely, and you were always so busy with work. I needed someone to talk to, someone who made me feel wanted." "Lonely?" I scoffed. "And you thought sleeping with another man was the solution? Do you even hear yourself right now?" Her tears flowed freely now. "I'm sorry, Mark. I know I messed up, but we can work through this. We can go to counseling. Try to fix things." I shook my head, the hurt cutting deeper with every word. "Fix things? You think sitting on a couch and talking about our feelings will fix this? You shattered my trust, Emily. How am I supposed to believe anything you say anymore?" She sobbed, her hands covering her face. I wanted to feel sorry for her, to reach out and comfort her. But the betrayal was too fresh, too raw. I needed answers, and I needed her to understand the depth of her actions. "Who is he?" I demanded. "Who is the guy you've been screwing behind my back?" Emily hesitated, but the look in my eyes told her there was no point in lying. "His name is Ryan. We met at a networking event a few months ago." "And how long has this been going on?" I asked, my voice cold and steady. She swallowed hard. "About 6 months." 6 months. Half a year of deceit, of lies piled upon lies. The realization hit me like a punch to the gut. All those nights she was working late or out with friends. She was with him, sharing the intimacy that was supposed to be ours. "Why?" I asked, my voice breaking. "Why couldn't you just talk to me? Tell me how you felt." "I tried, Mark," she whispered. "But you were always too busy, too wrapped up in your work. I felt invisible, like I didn't matter anymore." "Don't you dare put this on me," I snapped. "I worked hard to provide for us, to give us a good life. If you were unhappy, you should have talked to me, not gone behind my back." Emily's shoulders shook with sobs, but I couldn't find it in me to comfort her. The woman I had loved, the woman I had trusted with my life, had betrayed me in the most intimate way possible. There was no coming back from this. "I want a divorce," I said, my voice hollow. "I can't stay married to someone who lies to me, who cheats on me." Her eyes widened in shock. "No, Mark, please, don't do this. We can still work it out. I love you." "You don't love me, Emily. I replied, my voice hard. If you did, you wouldn't have done this. You wouldn't have destroyed everything we built together. She reached out, but I stepped back, avoiding her touch. It's over, Emily. Pack your things and leave. I can't do this anymore. The next few days were a whirlwind of emotions. Emily moved out, taking only her essentials. Our home, once filled with love and laughter, now felt like a mausoleum of broken dreams. I was left to pick up the pieces of my shattered life, grappling with the pain of betrayal and the daunting prospect of starting over. But amidst the sorrow, a dark resolve began to take root. Emily's lover, Ryan, had played a part in this, and I intended to make him pay. He had stolen my wife, and I would ensure he regretted ever laying eyes on her. Revenge, as they say, is a dish best served cold, and I was prepared to serve it icy. The days following Emily's departure were a haze of anger and planning. The betrayal cut deep, and each night I lay awake, consumed by thoughts of revenge. I needed to hit Ryan where it hurt, to make him feel the pain he had caused me. I began gathering information, piecing together details about his life. Through Emily's messages and a bit of online sleuthing, I discovered that Ryan was a mid-level manager at a tech company. He had a reputation to uphold, a career to protect, and I knew exactly how to shatter it. I spent the next week preparing, crafting my plan meticulously. First, I anonymously tipped off his company about his affair with a married woman, implying he had used company resources to facilitate their trysts. The HR department took the bait, launching an internal investigation. But this was just the beginning. I had something far more personal in mind. Emily had left a lot behind when she moved out, including several intimate photos and videos of her and Ryan. I created a fake email account and began sending these compromising materials to his colleagues, superiors, and even his family members. I made sure to drip feed the information, keeping the pressure on, letting the scandal slowly unfold. The fallout was immediate and brutal. Ryan's professional reputation was in tatters, and the whispers around the office turned into full-blown accusations. His boss confronted him, and despite his desperate denials, the evidence was damning. Within a month, Ryan was fired, his career in ruins. But I wasn't done. I wanted to confront him face to face, to see the pain in his eyes. I tracked him down to a seedy bar where he'd taken to drowning his sorrows. He was a shadow of the confident man I'd seen with Emily, disheveled and broken. I approached him, the element of surprise on my side. "Ryan, isn't it?" I said, sliding onto the stool next to him. He looked up, his eyes bloodshot and confused. "Who are you?" "I'm Mark, Emily's husband," I replied, watching the realization dawn on his face. He paled, stammering as he tried to form words. "Look, man, I'm sorry. I didn't mean for any of this to happen." "Sorry doesn't cut it," I said, my voice cold. "You knew she was married and you didn't care. You destroyed my life, and now I've destroyed yours." He tried to stand, but I grabbed his arm, forcing him back down. "Sit, we're not done," he complied, fear evident in his eyes. "What do you want from me?" "I want you to understand the consequences of your actions," I said, leaning in close. "You took something precious from me, so I took your career. And trust me, that's just the beginning." Ryan's eyes darted around, looking for an escape. "Please, I've lost everything. What more do you want?" I released his arm, standing up. "I want you to live with the knowledge that you're nothing. You're a homewrecker, a liar, and now, a failure. I hope it eats at you every single day." As I walked away, I felt a grim satisfaction. The revenge was complete, but the emptiness remained. I had struck back, but it didn't erase the betrayal or the pain. It didn't bring back the life I once knew. Ryan's life was in shambles, but so was mine. Emily's betrayal had left scars that no amount of retribution could heal. The confrontation had given me a momentary sense of control, but the future still loomed uncertain and bleak. My thoughts turned to the next steps, the legal battles ahead, and the process of rebuilding my life from the ground up. The day of our final conversation came sooner than I expected. Emily called, asking to meet at our house to discuss the divorce and finalize the details. Reluctantly, I agreed. The house, once a symbol of our shared dreams, now stood as a testament to broken promises and shattered trust. Emily arrived, looking more fragile than I'd ever seen her. She walked in tentatively, her eyes scanning the familiar surroundings with a sense of loss. We sat in the living room, the silence between us thick and heavy. "Mark, I want to start by saying how truly sorry I am," she began, her voice barely above a whisper. "I know I've hurt you deeply, and I regret everything." I nodded, my face a mask of indifference. "Let's just get this over with," she sighed, pulling out a stack of papers. "These are the divorce documents. I've agreed to all your terms. I don't want to fight anymore. I just want us to part ways as peacefully as possible." I took the papers, skimming through them. True to her word, she had conceded to everything I had asked for: the house, the car, and a significant portion of our savings. It was a small victory, but it felt hollow. "Why, Emily?" I asked, unable to hold back any longer. "Why did you do it?" Tears welled up in her eyes. "I was unhappy, Mark. I felt neglected and unloved. Ryan made me feel special, like I mattered. But it was a mistake, a horrible mistake. I lost sight of what we had." "You destroyed us for a fling," I said bitterly. "Was it worth it?" She shook her head, tears streaming down her face. "No, it wasn't. I lost everything. My husband, my home, my dignity. I'm so sorry, Mark. I wish I could take it all back." The sincerity in her voice tugged at my heart, but the pain of her betrayal was too deep. "It's too late for apologies, Emily. We're done." She nodded, wiping her tears. "I understand. I hope one day you can find it in your heart to forgive me." "Maybe," I said, though I doubted it. "But for now, I just need to move on." We signed the papers in silence, the finality of it sinking in. Emily stood to leave, pausing at the door. "I really did love you, Mark. I never meant to hurt you." I didn't respond, watching as she walked out of the door and out of my life. The chapter was closed, but the wounds were still raw. The house felt emptier than ever, a silent witness to the end of a decade-long relationship. The legal battle was over, but the emotional scars would take longer to heal. Emily was gone, and I was left to rebuild my life from the ashes of our shattered dreams. The future was uncertain, but for the first time in a long time, I felt a glimmer of hope. A chance to start over, to find happiness again, even if the road ahead was long and fraught with challenges. The legal process was surprisingly swift, given the circumstances. Emily had made it clear she wanted to avoid a drawn-out battle, and her cooperation sped things along. Our lawyers handled most of the details, and within a few weeks, the divorce was finalized. I kept the house, the car, and a significant portion of our savings as agreed upon. Emily took what she needed and moved into a small apartment across town. The courtroom, however, was a cold reminder of our failed marriage. We sat on opposite sides, barely acknowledging each other. The judge's words were a distant echo, the final decree a formal end to our union. I felt a strange mix of relief and sorrow as I walked out of the courthouse, free but deeply scarred. Friends and family were supportive, offering their condolences and encouragement. They tried to cheer me up, to distract me from the pain, but their efforts often fell short. Nights were the hardest, the quiet solitude amplifying my thoughts. I replayed every argument, every lie, trying to understand where it all went wrong. One evening, as I sorted through old photos and mementos, I stumbled upon a picture of Emily and me on our wedding day. We looked so happy, so full of hope. It was a stark contrast to the reality that had unfolded. I put the photo away, deciding it was time to let go of the past. Therapy became a crucial part of my healing process. I found a counselor who helped me navigate the emotional turmoil, guiding me through my anger, sadness, and eventual acceptance. Each session was a step toward reclaiming my sense of self, toward understanding that Emily's betrayal was a reflection of her own flaws, not mine. Months turned into a year, and the pain of the past gradually faded. I immersed myself in work and began to find a rhythm in my new life. The house, once a monument to my failed marriage, slowly transformed into a sanctuary of my own making. I redecorated, replacing the remnants of our shared life with new memories, new beginnings. Lisa and I continued to grow closer. Our relationship was built on a foundation of honesty and mutual respect. She was a teacher, passionate about her work and deeply caring. Her empathy and understanding were a balm to my wounded heart. She never pushed me to talk about Emily, but she was always there when I needed to. Her presence was a constant reminder that not all relationships were doomed to end in betrayal. One sunny afternoon, Lisa and I took a trip to the beach. It was one of those perfect days, with clear skies and a gentle breeze. We walked along the shore, our feet sinking into the warm sand. She held my hand, her laughter mingling with the sound of the waves. For the first time in a long time, I felt at peace. "Do you ever think about the future?" Lisa asked, her eyes reflecting the ocean's calmness. "All the time," I admitted. "It used to scare me, not knowing what would happen next. But now I feel like I can handle anything, as long as you're by my side." She smiled, squeezing my hand. "I feel the same way. We've both been through a lot, but I think it's made us stronger." As we sat on the beach, watching the sunset, I realized how much I had grown. The betrayal that once consumed me was now just a part of my story, a chapter that had led me to this moment. I was grateful for the lessons I had learned, even the painful ones, because they had brought me to a place of true happiness. Back in the city, my career was thriving. The focus and determination I had channeled into my work paid off. I received a promotion, leading a team on an exciting new project. My colleagues noticed the change in me, how I seemed more driven, more confident. The challenges that once seemed insurmountable now felt like opportunities for growth. Outside of work, I rediscovered old passions and embraced new ones. I took up painting, something I had always wanted to try, but never had the time for. The act of creating, of expressing myself on canvas, was therapeutic. Lisa often joined me, and our home slowly filled with our artwork, a testament to our shared creativity. Our social circle expanded as well. We hosted dinner parties, went on group hikes, and traveled. One memorable trip took us to the mountains, where we spent a week hiking and camping under the stars. The experience brought us even closer, reminding us of the simple joys of life and the beauty of the world around us. In time, Lisa and I decided to take the next step in our relationship. One evening, over a candlelit dinner at our favorite restaurant, I asked her to move in with me. Her eyes sparkled with joy as she said yes, and the transition was seamless. Our lives blended together effortlessly, and the house truly became a home. Living with Lisa was a revelation. We fell into a comfortable routine, cooking together, sharing stories about our day, and planning our future. We talked about everything, our dreams, our fears, our plans. There were no secrets, no hidden agendas. It was a partnership built on trust and love. One rainy evening, as we curled up on the couch with a bottle of wine, Lisa broached a subject we had skirted around for a while. "Have you ever thought about getting married again?" she asked, her voice tentative. I paused, considering her question. "I have," I admitted, "but I wanted to make sure it was the right time, the right person." "And is it?" she asked, her eyes searching mine. I smiled, taking her hand. "Yes, it is. Lisa, you've brought so much joy and stability into my life. I can't imagine a future without you." Tears filled her eyes as she hugged me. "I feel the same way, Mark. I love you more than words can express." That night, we talked about our future in earnest. We made plans for a small, intimate wedding, surrounded by close friends and family. The thought of starting a new chapter with Lisa filled me with hope and excitement. The day of the wedding was perfect. It was held in a beautiful garden, the air filled with the scent of blooming flowers and the sound of birdsong. Lisa looked stunning in her simple yet elegant dress, her smile radiant. As we exchanged vows, I felt a sense of peace and certainty. This was where I was meant to be, with the woman who had helped me rebuild my life and find happiness again. Our honeymoon was a blissful escape. We traveled to Italy, exploring the charming streets of Rome, the romantic canals of Venice, and the breathtaking countryside of Tuscany. Each day was an adventure, each moment a new memory. We returned home more in love than ever, ready to face whatever the future held together. Life after the wedding continued to be filled with joy and fulfillment. We supported each other's dreams, celebrated each other's successes, and navigated challenges hand in hand. We talked about starting a family, and the prospect filled us with anticipation and joy. Reflecting on my journey, I realized how far I had come. The betrayal and pain of my past had shaped me, but they did not define me. They had led me to Lisa, to a life filled with love, honesty, and genuine happiness. I had learned the importance of communication, of being present in a relationship, and of valuing the people who truly cared about me. As I looked toward the future, I knew there would be challenges and uncertainties, but I also knew that with Lisa by my side, I could face anything. Together, we would continue to build a life filled with love, trust, and endless possibilities. And for the first time in a long time, I felt truly at peace with where I was and where I was headed.